everyone. My name is Elena Labenets. I'm current Sustainable IT Project Officer at EPFL. I work with Manuel, and I will be doing the introduction to today's track. I'll keep it rather interactive. So, yes, please scan the QR code or go to menti.com and put in the code. Throughout the presentation, on the top of the slide, there will be instructions as well. So, yeah, if you didn't have time at some point, don't worry. There will be some introduction before we actually get to the interactive part. So, yeah, let's start with some recent news. This is a post from Threads from last Monday. The picture on the left is an old photo. It was captured in 2017. However, the news that Apple might be joining hands with Google is absolutely true. And AI made this possible. Apple may hire Google to build Gemini AI engine into next generation iPhone. Why this news is particularly interesting is because people who have power to influence big tech and the status of corporate monopolies are not impartial. Nancy Pelosi is a member of US Congress. She was a speaker that worked on the antitrust legislation to regulate the tech industry, to reintroduce competition in the industry, and to counteract big tech corporate monopolies. Her stock portfolio includes Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, and Google. As of 2021, she is the sixth richest person in Congress, with a net worth valued to $120 million. She also opposes banning Congress members from owning individual stock. We are a free market economy, she says. This is all to say that these companies have disproportionately dangerous and disproportional influence, so something to keep in mind throughout our track today. Yes, for the next few slides, we'll get some key numbers, and these key numbers will help us to understand the scale of challenges that we are going to discuss in this track later on. Yes, there's going to be a quiz. So the first three people will get a chocolate bar. It's right there. It's from a brand that is Cocoa Farmer owned. It involves them in the business decision making and shares the profits. Have you seen Wonka movie? So this is the most unrealistic representation of chocolate industry. They completely ignore how difficult it is to cultivate cocoa. However, they got one thing wrong, correct. They got one thing correct, is that chocolate industry is run by a handful of giant profit-driven companies. Anyway, has anyone joined at menti.com? All right. So yes, let's start with the environment and climate more specifically. Who here have heard of Paris Climate Agreement and could tell me what it is? Okay, Gilles?
That's what's written in so we have to limit the temperature rise by to 1.5 or 2% by anything on Earth by 2050.
Yeah, so yeah, it's written on the slide, correct. So anyone of you could have read it. Yes, so in 2015, at the Paris Climate Change Conference, 196 parties agreed to make efforts to limit the rise in temperature to 1.5 degrees by 2050. So before looking what these efforts should be, let's see the current state of affairs. So here goes the first question. What is the carbon footprint of a person living in Switzerland in tons of CO2? So yes, it's 13.7. I saw that not everyone voted. I hope you have enough time to answer the questions. If not, I'm sorry. So yeah, the values are given with decimals. However, it's more important to keep in mind the magnitude, the order of magnitude. And keep this number in mind throughout the track. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, yeah, pretty close, pretty close. Okay, that's going to be quite a competition. Okay, so how to prevent global warming? IPCC has something to say about it. IPCC stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's a United Nations body that assesses the science related to climate change. And so it also issues the reports and guidelines for decision makers. So now the question. All right, so it's good? Yes. According to IPCC, what should be the per person footprint? So we wouldn't melt the world down. Correct. Yeah, very good. Yeah, just 2 tons. How are we doing? Okay, it's getting tighter. All right. So if you're wondering whether 2 tons is possible, yes, it is. There are testimonials of people already doing this in France without disconnecting from society. However, it doesn't include the public sector, which is already 1.5 tons when you're just woken up. The picture on the background shows central Eindhoven train central station in the Netherlands. And it's the car park, and the same space is occupied by 75 cars on the left and more than 500 bikes on the right. Now let's talk about another type of travel, the air travel, more particularly intercontinental and inside Europe. For those of you who are from EPFL, you might remember the cubes that were on the campus last semester. So they represent the volumes of the flights in question. So the question is, how many tons of CO2 are emitted during a round-trip flight, Zurich-San Francisco, in economy class? Yes, it is 5 tons. Okay. So here are the cubes that represent the correct answer. This is 5 tons. And so the 10 tons is the business class. Then we have 300 kilograms for flight Geneva-Brussels. And here we have a round train trip to Brussels. And you could have gone 10 times to Brussels by train before emitting as much CO2 as if you've chosen to take a plane. And regarding the EPFL, travel is currently the EPFL's main source of CO2 emissions. It's about a third in 2019, and 17,000 tons. 87% of this impact is generated by staff, and 13% by student travel. Let's talk more about EPFL, and this time it's IT systems. So the question, the total carbon footprint of EPFL in 2022 was about 80,000 tons. What percentage of that was its IT systems? Yeah, not an easy question, but so you would keep this in mind. The carbon footprint of IT systems represents 60% of total estimated schools' footprint. IT systems' carbon footprint includes production of the hardware and usage, so the electricity that's required to run it. And when it comes to production, it's responsible for 60% of total footprint of IT systems. All right. So we're getting closer to the subject of our track. Here's the question about the carbon footprint of training GPT-3. So approximately how many tons of CO2 are emitted when training GPT-3 once? Very well. Yes, around 500 tons, and it takes approximately 1.3 gigawatt hours to train GPT-3 once, or 2 weeks for 10,000 GPUs. Not only the energy demand is high, but can you imagine the quantity of hardware required? So that's it for the quiz. Thank you very much for participating. Now we have some key figures that will help us to understand the scale of challenges faced by the machine learning community. So who do we have? We have Dr. Centipede, Earthman, and something Rhino. Sorry, so it's Zlatan, Dr. Centipede, and Earthman. Yes, please come.
We can give them
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, it was not, a bit rigged. I'm sorry. Please come to us at the end of the track to get your chocolate. And so the last question from me for you. We, in this track, will also talk about ethical risks and societal impacts of AI. How familiar are you with them? Not at all familiar, slightly familiar, moderately familiar, very familiar. Please give your answer. This will help our speaker to adapt her talk. Okay, I see that 11 people voted. So, yeah, between moderately familiar, 12 people. Yeah, so moderately familiar, a bit less. All right, so yeah, it's going to be everything for me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.